In 1848, a carpenter named James Marshall spotted a few shiny flakes in the American River near a sawmill in Coloma, California. He had no idea what he had just triggered. By the next year, over 90,000 people would flood into the region, abandoning homes, jobs, and reason to chase the dream of instant wealth. It was chaotic, unpredictable, and speculative. It was the California gold rush. Now fast forward nearly 2 centuries. A meme coin with a Shiba Inu dog reaches a $90 billion market cap. Teenagers become millionaires. People are buying GPUs as if they were about to sell out, and they often were. What started as a fringe financial experiment had become a digital gold rush. The California gold rush and the rise of cryptocurrencies may seem like opposites, analog versus digital, pickaxes versus passwords. But at their core, both triggered waves of speculation, innovation, and financial transformation. Both reshaped the economies around them, and both left many people with empty pockets. This is the story of what the gold rush can teach us about crypto bubbles. In 1848, when rumors of gold reached the East Coast, most Americans couldn't find California on a map. It had just become U.S. territory, newly pried from Mexico, and it was barely developed. But the word gold had a magnetic pull. By 1849, tens of thousands had arrived by foot, wagon, and ship. The dream? Dig in the dirt, find a fortune, change your life. Fast forward to 2017. Bitcoin cracks $19,000. Then Ethereum. Then Dogecoin. Then dozens of tokens with names like Shiba Coin, Moon Token, and SafeMars. Reddit and Twitter become investment boards. Discord servers fill with FOMO and promises of life-changing gains. And just like in 1849, the gold wasn't evenly distributed. Only a tiny percentage of gold rush miners actually made a profit. Many went home broke. But the real fortunes? They were made by people selling the tools. People like Samuel Brannan, who made more money selling pickaxes, shovels, and pans than most ever made digging. Or Levi Strauss, who sold durable pants. In crypto, the equivalent of the shovel sellers were often hardware companies like NVIDIA and AMD. Originally, GPUs, graphics processing units, were used for gaming and rendering visual effects. But crypto miners realized that GPUs were perfect for mining coins like Ethereum and Bitcoin. As crypto prices surged, so did demand for these chips. NVIDIA's gaming revenue, a category that includes many GPU models used for mining, nearly doubled between 2020 and 2022. The company even released special cards for miners. AMD saw similar surges. Gamers were priced out and retailers couldn't keep up. Whether you struck digital gold or not, didn't matter to them. NVIDIA sold the shovels either way. Economists call this the picks and shovels strategy. Invest in the tools everyone needs to speculate, not in the speculation itself. And it usually works. The gold rush was more than a mining frenzy. It was a speculative mania. Rumors of new gold veins could empty entire camps overnight. Land with no proven deposits was sold for fortunes on word of mouth alone, and fraud was rampant. Crypto repeated this pattern, in digital form. In 2017, initial coin offerings, ICOs, became the new get-rich-quick mechanism. Thousands of tokens launched, many claiming to be the next decentralized Uber or blockchain-based Airbnb. But these weren't established companies, just ambitious startups with vague white papers. People threw money into ideas, not companies or products. A study from Ernst & Young later found that over 80% of ICOs launched in 2017 failed or were outright scams. Just like in 1849, people weren't investing, they were gambling. And GPU demand followed the frenzy. Miners around the world rushed to build rigs, often using high-end NVIDIA or AMD cards. These were stacked in rows, cooled by elaborate fan systems, and sometimes deployed in stolen power grids or abandoned warehouses. GPU prices soared. Traditional consumers, like gamers or video editors, found themselves priced out. A $500 graphics card could sell for $1,500 or more on eBay. And this wasn't just a hardware story, it was a psychological phenomenon. Behavioral economics gives us the tools to understand these cycles. First, FOMO, the fear of missing out, drives investors to buy into assets they don't understand. Then, herd behavior amplifies the trend. Finally, confirmation bias makes people seek out only information that justifies their decisions. When a friend doubled their money on a meme coin, no one wanted to be the last one out. Just like in 1849, when a neighbor struck gold, the whole valley started digging. Speculation fueled demand, and that demand funded a bubble. The gold rush made just a few individuals rich, but it transformed the economy. Entire industries were born. San Francisco grew from a village to a major city. Railroads, banks, and shipping companies emerged to support the influx. The gold rush built infrastructure, Crypto did the same. The crypto boom, even when irrational, funded the development of blockchain technologies. These decentralized systems now power smart contracts, which execute agreements without middlemen. Decentralized finance platforms that offer loans, savings, and insurance without banks, and NFTs which, despite the hype, represent a new way of tracking digital ownership. The infrastructure boom wasn't limited to code. Companies like NVIDIA and AMD, though not originally in the crypto business, became essential providers. Ethereum, before its 2022 shift away from mining, relied on GPU mining. Coin farms with thousands of graphics cards sprang up across the globe, driving enormous sales, and new innovations in hardware cooling, chip efficiency, and high-performance computing. Crypto miners were pushing GPU architecture to its limits, and that R&D benefited other industries too, from AI to scientific research. In short, the bubble built real tools. When Ethereum transitioned from proof of work, which was based on mining, to proof of stake, which is not, demand for GPUs dropped sharply. Overnight, those cards flooded back into the resale market. But the infrastructure and the companies endured. Just like the railroads built during the gold rush didn't disappear when the gold dried up. By 1852, the gold rush was already winding down. Surface gold had been picked clean. Mining became industrialized, expensive, and dominated by corporations. The average prospector, the everyman with a shovel, was priced out. The crypto world has seen booms and busts just as predictably. In 2017, it neared $20,000 before crashing to $3,000 1 year later. In 2021, it soared past $60,000, then lost more than half its value in 2022. Each cycle brought an explosion in GPU mining, followed by a flood of used cards on the secondary market. Economist Carlota Perez described this pattern in her theory of technological revolutions. A burst of financial speculation drives wild growth. Then a crash purges the weak. What's left behind is the foundation for lasting innovation. The dot-com bubble did this. So did the gold rush and the British railroad mania of the 1800s. And so too, the crypto market. After each bust, the true builders and innovators are still there, and often stronger. In the gold rush, lawlessness reigned. California had no established legal system. Property disputes were settled in miners' courts, where decisions were made by votes, not laws. Crypto was no different. In its early years, no one knew how to regulate it. Was it money? A security? A commodity? A contract? This regulatory gray area allowed the industry to innovate and grift with near impunity. When companies like NVIDIA saw crypto driving sales, they leaned into it. But regulators pushed back. In 2022, NVIDIA was fined $5.5 million by the SEC for failing to properly disclose how much of its gaming revenue actually came from crypto mining. And then there were the coin collapses, FTX, Terra Luna, Celsius, and more. Each failure echoed a familiar lesson from history. When regulation lags innovation, bubbles grow unchecked. Eventually, regulation arrives. But by then, fortunes have been made and lost. Here's a hard truth. Most people didn't get rich in the gold rush. Many ended up in debt, and some didn't survive the process. The same is true for those who bought into crypto. Investors who bought Bitcoin at the top and exited too soon, or that were victims of scam wallets or coins, faced major losses. Meanwhile, the real beneficiaries were exchanges like Coinbase and Binance, wallet providers like Ledger and MetaMask, payment processors and Layer 1 infrastructure companies, and of course GPU makers like NVIDIA and AMD, who raked in billions selling the tools to chase digital gold. Just like Levi Strauss never needed to dig for gold, these companies never needed to believe in crypto to profit from it. They just sold what everyone needed. Here is what we can learn for the next wave. 1. Every boom builds something lasting. The gold rush funded westward expansion in modern California. Crypto is funding new technologies that may redefine finance, ownership, and digital identity. 2. Speculation is noisy, infrastructure is quiet. Most speculative assets disappear. But the rails, like GPUs, protocols, and standards, often remain. 3. Pick shovels, not dreams. If history repeats, the next fortune won't come from guessing which meme coin will pop, but from identifying the tools everyone will need. That might mean AI chips, quantum security protocols, or the next frontier in decentralized computing. The smartest bets are often quiet, steady, and boring, like selling hardware during a mania. In 1848, gold changed America. In the 2020s, crypto challenged our definitions of money, trust, and value. It brought euphoria, confusion, and recklessness, just like every revolution before it. But bubbles don't just burst, they clear the way. And when the dust settles, what's left is often more important than what started it all. So whether you're chasing the next coin or studying the past to understand the future, remember, the smartest move may not be finding the gold, but selling the shovel. Thank you for watching Into the Loop.